107. Still here.
In this case, it's actually funny.
It's actually funny. Yeah. So what's the topic today?
Oh, I'm introducing the topic?
Sure.
I guess, I don't know why I'm introducing the topic.
Because we've called it spiritual bypassing.
Oh, is that what the topic is?
Oh, what was the topic you were going to say?
I was just saying that, what we've been going through. This is spiritual bypassing.
Is it?
I don't know if it's spiritual bypassing. So anyway, I've been going through it for several weeks, if not since definitely the beginning of the new year. It kind of comes and goes, but this is going back to the previous podcast of, I think something almost fell off. That in order for us to reach any kind of point of awareness, any kind of point of peace, any kind of point of, if there's even a goal, which I don't think there's a goal, but right, a lot of people are trying to reach something. But that reach, I think, is just peace, right? So to reach peace is to accept yourself as you are. And spiritual bypassing comes into this is because a lot of people get on the path of spiritual awakening because they want to be at peace.
Right.
Or they want to feel good. They want to stop feeling like shit. And then because of that, you want to have that as your trajectory. And there's a lot of things that are out there that says if you just do this or you do that. And yes, if you have set intentions and if you participate in cacao ceremonies and all of that, that is all things that carry light within them or carry the intention of oneness and wholeness within them if done by the right person.
Right.
But all of them are simply there as facilitations for you to actually see your shadow.
Yeah.
So the point of love and light in spiritual community is not to be at love and light and pretend like the bad and the shadow and the unintegrated portions of you do not exist, but it's actually to be in the community that is open to facilitate an environment,
right,
and openness for you to communicate those parts of yourself that are your shadows.
Right. And there are the gurus who, have all the various messages, some of which are maybe more in line with the truth than others, but it isn't that they have the power. If anything, it's that they can kind of lead by example. It's like, Well,
Osho's not leading by example.
Well, no, that's a different story. In as much as, there can be people that you admire and you're like, I like that they have the courage to do this, or I like that they have, overcome whatever obstacle. And that's makes a great story and a great character and everything. But the danger is, I want to be them. I want to emulate them. I want their, whether that's...
I don't think it's that.
I think some people do that.
I think it's like, oh, look, this person seems to know something about peace and light, and because they talk about peace and light. And so they go to that because they want the peace and light. It's not be them. It's feel the peace that you're searching for within.
Not be them, but have what they have.
But nobody has anything.
Whether that's peace or...
Nobody has anything. What people have is the road that they have traveled thus far to know thyself, to know themselves.
Right.
So the only thing that the guru could offer is a space that allows you to reach the shadow. So you can know yourself.
A proper guru, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, it doesn't look pretty. That's the thing. A proper guru it doesn't mean that that's pretty.
Yeah.
If you're searching for a guru that is going to make things pretty, even though I like pretty in all kinds of ways, I say a lot of uncomfortable shit to everybody around me, you included, and myself. Because to me, that's the whole purpose of exploration into the spiritual realm, is to find yourself in this open space, right? Like what do you do when you burn sage? Most of the time you cleanse the space, you cleanse yourself. Well, you cleanse yourself for what? It's not so you just feel love and light and cleansing. It's so you allow the denser versions of you to come out. You cleanse the blockages, so you're integrated into your oneness.
Right.
But your oneness includes bringing up the shadow.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I wanted to talk about, really, that is topic of spiritual bypassing, but what we have been going through, which is difficult and it's not pretty, of what it looks like to adhere to your own commitment to self, which is integration of shadow.
Yeah.
And shadow is like, I think shadow is misunderstood too. People are like, oh, shadow, this is the bad part of myself that nobody wants to see. And then therefore I don't want to see it. No, it's a belief system that actually carries no valid propagation that you have hold on to for so long.
Right.
Because it kept you safe. That's what a shadow is.
It had a purpose.
It's this positive psychosis.
It helped you in ways. It's just at some point, ideally, you realize, oh, these beliefs, I no longer want to do that. Thank you. You served me well over the years, but that's not the path that I want to go on anymore. Well,
the positive psychosis episode that we had, basically this comes down to that. And I will reiterate the whole process of, human awakening. You come in here, you feel unsafe. And then unsafety is then through your own lens. You take on your own lens of unsafety. And then the unsafety becomes this basically filter. And this lens is the conduit through which you see the world. And you do everything in your power not to feel this unsafety. And you do everything in your power to prove yourself that you're actually either safe or to not feel unsafe. So all kinds of convoluted, like really convoluted ways. Like if you try to have this conversation with someone within 2 or 3 minutes, you can get to the point of how deep this goes. Hence the shadow. The word shadow it goes really, really deep. It is this aspect in yourself that you don't want to see because it keeps you safe. You think it keeps you safe.
Right.
And so the unsafety is the cause. And like I said to you, when we had this conversation a couple of days ago, which we'll repeat, just because we had some time to process it. There are, the world exists and the world has all kinds of things to offer. But if you're serious about yourself and you're serious about peace and you're serious about love and opening your heart into love, the only conversation that needs to take place is, how are you feeling unsafe in this moment? If there's something that in the universe that is bothering you, be it actually seemed like it's a real thing or be it a superficial thing, it doesn't matter. The scale is huge. You will find a billion ways that something is not right or somebody's wrong or somebody's whatever. But if you are functioning in a state of being where you're not at peace, that means something is bothering you on the surface, but in reality is you feel unsafe.
Yeah, all the things that bother you on the surface are just projections of some deeper unsafety.
It just comes down to unsafety. And it's not like, oh, I was sexually molested and therefore I'm unsafe. Yes, that is a reason why somebody might project unsafety into the world, but it comes before that, in like that area of your crib childhood, that where you felt unsafe in a very undefined way.
Yeah.
And the only reason you have a definition of your unsafety right now is because you have assigned a marking to it that makes it okay for you to feel that way. And then possibly builds victimhood, depending on how you want to look at it, right? Which we have talked about an episode where you grab onto things that happen to you in your life and you develop victimhood as a safety buffer.
Yeah.
The victimhood is there to keep you safe.
Right. It's some sort of mode that lets you, it allows you to justify inaction and justify being in that state.
Well, it actually justifies your action.
Sure,
as a victim, you will be acting a specific way.
Yeah.
That is probably not in line with like your own like, oh, should I behave this way? but you justify it because it keeps you safe. Oh, look, I have empirical evidence of me being a victim, and I act this way to protect myself from being sexually abused in the future. Because I'm a victim, right? Therefore, I'm allowed to act this way because I've been a victim. That's the false narrative. But the truth behind this is I just feel unsafe, period.
Yeah.
And being sexually abused is one of the ways it came out into my life. But that was not the origin. The origin of his unsafety was in the crib before you remembered anything at all. And then because you feel unsafe, the vibrational filter is like, oh, I'm unsafe. The abuse, the sexual abuse actually happened because you already felt unsafe. Even though right now that's the only thing you can hold on to,
right,
to justify the unsafety feeling, it goes deeper than that.
Right.
And that is, I am not, that it could potentially be heard as, oh, I brought on the sexual. No, that's not what I'm saying. You were vibrating on safety and you needed something in this world to grab onto to either build you awareness into look how unsafe you feel or to propagate you further into blindness. And sexual abuse to some people just propagates them further into blindness.
Mm-hmm. We this is a nice uncharged trivial example. We were on vacation, I don't know, years ago. And we I must have forgotten to lock the car at night, and at come late some evening, your mom hears or sees someone outside opening the car door and rustling through, and we go and we look, and they're gone, but your wallet's gone, and they just took some stuff out of the car, right? And we call the police, and they're like, yeah, well, it's basically holiday weekend, and make sure you lock your car. We'll file a report, but you're never getting anything back, type of stuff. And that's the first time that I've ever been robbed, right? And that's it. It was like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. And every time after that, I'm like, okay, lock, 5 locks, make sure I hear the beep and everything. And that is not to say that locking your car is the wrong thing to do. That is probably the right thing to do. But the energy difference with which I approached making sure the car is locked was wildly different. It was this over the top, I've got to make sure it's safe. I have to control the situation and make sure everything's safe, make sure it's locked, make sure nothing valuable would be visible, all that stuff. It was really obvious, even back then, that I am locking this to make sure that I am not a victim again. / I am a victim of this robbery, right? Like legal definition of a victim of this robbery. Yes, check. Therefore, I'm a victim. And that, that kind of sank into me.
For the reason of unsafety?
I mean, it was unsafety. It's terribly unsafe to have all your, not all your stuff, but they took stuff out of the car. They took money. They took credit cards. They took a wallet. They took, I don't know what else they took. Yeah. So that's a, low impact example, but it strikes me as, look, I'm a victim. Look, this is unsafe. Please help me. Oh, we can't. What can I do? What can I do to help alleviate this unsafety? I can make sure the car is locked 15 times.
Yeah. I mean, but it's an interesting side note. Later, somebody drills out our lock and our car doesn't lock.
Yeah, right. So even locking the car won't do it.
Yeah.
That one somehow didn't really, other than the annoyance of having to change out the lock, that really wasn't that irritating.
Well, because we didn't know the lock was drilled out.
We didn't know the lock was drilled out. Apparently, there's only one keyhole in the car on the driver's side. I just assume there's one on the passenger side too. There isn't. And we had locked the car and disconnected the battery because the battery was draining. And I go to unlock the car. I'm like, it doesn't even fit in the keyhole because it's, why is that keyhole all mangled up?
Well, no, I think the lock was drilled out and that was causing the battery drain.
Could be. Could have been that too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because we never use the physical lock. There's always the button to unlock it.
Yeah, I think we would have noticed. Well, would we have noticed that hole? Maybe we were drilled out. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I did not know that people drill out locks. That's a strange thing people do.
Yeah.
But I guess on our current car, we don't have a lock to draw left.
Problem solved.
Yeah, we have all kinds of other vulnerabilities to be unsafe about. Right. But everything in life goes back to that original undefined unsafety when you're a little baby in the crib.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take on personal definitions of it once we need to solidify that we already feel unsafe.
Right. I feel unsafe because of X, Y, and Z, but A, B, and C help me feel less unsafe. So give me more of those.
Yeah.
So we've said this. I've said this plenty of times on here in the past that my personal shtick is feeling. I feel safe through feeling unloved. Right.
You feel unsafe through feeling unloved.
What did I say?
Safe.
I feel yes, I feel unsafe.
What do you feel safe through feeling unloved?
No.
But you said safe. So I wonder if it's on purpose. Right? Like desire to continue to stay unsafe, to feel unloved in order to propagate a cycle over and over and over.
I mean, I can see how that would be a victimhood propagation type of thing too.
Yeah, I bet it's both.
Yeah,
you want to get away from it? Like
larger in the same way that, when I was, severely depressed, I wanted it and didn't want it at the same time.
Yeah. So maybe you don't want to feel loved.
Maybe. Right.
Because if you think you never felt loved, then feeling loved would be pretty dangerous.
Sure. I mean, but in as much as we've talked about this before, having a truly, open heart, it's like, on one hand, that sounds like the best thing in the world. And on the other hand, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah. But in this case, I want to point out you are defining word love and open heart through a very bottom-like interpretation. Right? What you think open heart is not actually a thing that happens if you're looking from your pain body trauma on up.
Sure.
And the love that you seek when you don't feel loved and feel unsafe is actually not the real love that even is existing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I say it's, feel love so that I don't feel unsafe. It's feel love so that I don't feel not enough, so that I don't feel safe. Because, if I, I do have this, chronic, like, I feel like I'm not enough, not good enough, not worthy enough, not whatever. And love has been my go-to. I'm going to put big air quotes around love, to not even alleviate that, pacify that. So,
or a solution to seek in order not to feel like shit.
Yeah, if I can get, because if I am loved, then therefore that is evidence to me that maybe I am good enough. Maybe I am worthy of being loved, right? So how do I not feel? How do I stop feeling like I'm not enough? Be loved. That's been my mental model over the years.
Yeah, but clarify that the love that you're seeking has nothing to do with real love.
Right. Yes. This love that I'm.
This is like
it is a very superficial type of love.
Like it would be. And I know that you use word love to describe it.
Yeah.
But in no way this would be considered love.
Right. And and you can take a step back and go, well, how do I experience love? And it's well, all these any sort of physical connection, being together, but like, sex is obviously the pinnacle of love. So therefore, sex by proxy gives love. Love by proxy gives helps with the feeling of inadequacy, which then makes me feel safe. And so, how do you get how do you get sex? Well, there's intimacy, which leads to sex, which leads to love, which leads to reducing inadequacy, which leads to safety. And it's this long, messed up chain of things by proxy, none of which, like, in real life, it isn't, in my mind, it's A to B to C to, and in the end, I'm safe, right? And this has always made sense, and this has always been, well, of course, how could it possibly be any other way? I mean, from literally as long as I can remember. This flow chart of cause and effect has been unchallenged and unquestioned, and obviously the truth, and obviously the one and only way to do it.
Yeah,
or the most effective way to do it.
Yeah, but that is your first impression or idea of what sex is.
Yeah.
Right. So your initial development, like when you're a teenager and you develop an idea of what sex is, that was it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was all wrong. And
I'm not saying wrong.
No, it was there to no. Yes, it was there as a solution. It served a purpose. It made me feel safe and or numb to feeling unsafe, depending on details. It served a purpose. Either way, it reduced unsafety. But evaluating it now, it's like none of these A to B to C to D, none of those steps really follow in it turns out. And
how do they not follow, I guess?
Like, sex is not a proxy for love. Never should have been. It just isn't. They can go hand in hand. So it's like if you squint your eyes, you can go, I see what I meant by that. But having that tight link, I think was a inaccurate. That causal link going that direction, especially, was very detrimental. And then love equaling worthiness is just the same thing. That does not logically follow. It's like I understand. Believe me, I understand how feeling loved makes me feel more good enough. Sure, I get that. I fundamentally get that. But does it really, in real life, does being loved make you more or less worthy? No, they're orthogonal topics.
Yeah, but you do realize all of those are your perception. It's perception based. That is my point.
That is my point. Exactly. Is that my perception was that A to B to C to D to E. Okay, great. Life's great. No, so more. Give me more A.
But
because therefore I can get more safety.
But
walk this chain back.
Even perception of your lens of what love is, your lens of what sex is, your love of what intimacy is, your lens of what arousal is. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's your lens for all of those things.
Right. No, exactly.
Which within itself shows you if it's coming out of how do I feel safe? And here's A to B to C through the lens that it needs to flow in order for me to feel unsafe. So the arousal that you actually feel is only through the lens of that. The sex that you're having is only through the lens of that.
Yes.
The intimacy you're only feeling is only through that. So it's like if each one of those things has a huge circle of potential of what it means, it could potentially mean, you're only interpreting each one of those items through your own personal filter.
Right.
That only defines intimacy by your needed definition.
Right.
So when you talk to me about intimacy and when I talk to me about intimacy, we're talking about two separate things.
Right. And yes, in the Venn diagram of what love could mean or what intimacy could mean, my particular subset of that is very tinted by the reverse process of that, leading with, unsafety to feeling, not good enough, to feeling unloved. right? It's the love is like almost this thing that helps me feel good enough, right? That's almost how I've defined love in this,
Yeah.
not
Your love is not
necessarily
love. Your
right.
love is
Make me feel better.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I feel good about myself. That's what your
Right.
definition of love is.
Right. And that
if you actually extrapolate it out and go, wait, this doesn't feel like love, but what it actually is. That's it.
Right. And that's the realization I'm having, is that, all these things are backwards influenced by that deepest I don't know if trauma is the word, or pain body of I mean, of course it's all unsafety. It's unsafety with everybody, but my particular flavor of I'm not good enough has then backwards defined love, which is backwards defined sex, which is backward defined intimacy, all the way back, right? So that has polluted the whole arc of it.
Well, polluted, I would just say
Polluted
that is
because
the only arc you have ever
it is
known
the only
to
arc I've ever
experience.
known. And so it is, and that's the scary part, is that now I'm like, what else could it mean? Because once I realized that, I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty icky. And I'm like, I don't think I really want to do that anymore. But then it's like I'm just lost at like what else. Not even what else does it mean. It's like, what else could it even mean? And I just don't know. And that's just like identity crisis level terrifying.
Because
That's unsafe.
Yeah. So the
reason
why
the whole idea of not knowing what it is unsafe, and B, my nice little chain of how to get safety has fallen apart, and so it's like it's doubly so.
Yeah, but once you recognize this false narrative that you have literally built your idea of love and intimacy and sex around, like it's just basically a bullshit story you have been telling yourself for the last 40 something years. Once you see through the bullshit story, what happens is you're like, oh wow, that like quite literally doesn't actually make sense. Like everything that I have experienced in the last 40 years has been a lie because I have only seen it through this false story.
Yes, right. And that's what I mean by identity crisis, because it's like all this stuff which I just took to be true. It's like, how could it be any other way? It felt so true and accurate and correct and right that it was never questioned.
Yeah.
It was absolutely never questioned. And so it became this like fundamental part of me that was never inspected or evaluated or interrogated. It was of course, this is how I operate. Duh, how could it possibly be any other way? Obviously, everybody else does the exact same thing too, right? And once that's gone, it's like it's like it isn't quite I don't know who I am level, but it's really not that far off. It is a low-level identity crisis.
Well, I mean, one, to begin with, it's identity crisis because you have identified yourself to begin with, your truth is, I feel like I'm unlovable.
Yeah.
Like I'm bad and I'm unlovable. I don't know if the word is bad, but unlovable, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the truth. And then what you have come to identify is this belief system, or really this toolkit that you have been using in the past, have been there as a pacifier for you.
Yeah.
Not to the shadow there is you think you're utterly unlovable. Like there's no fixing you.
Right.
That's the truth. But because you think that's the truth, the toolkit of like, okay, well, if I have someone who loves me and who has sex with me, then that proves to me that there's hope. That I'm actually somehow lovable. or at least can get pacified, can get this huge gaping hole of me not ever being lovable patched up and feel like I'm okay, that resets the gaping hole.
Yeah.
And so that has been your go-to process of, the truth is I always feel unlovable. I'm just utterly unlovable. And that's the vibratory field. That's the flavor that goes out into the universe that you ask the universe to deliver to you. You're asking the universe to go, show me all the ways that I'm unlovable. But then on the back end, you need to go, okay, but what is the solution that I can do to patch when it's too much?
Yeah.
And your way into sex has been your, basically not any different than heroin, your form of addiction in order to numb off the deep down I'm unlovable.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So it's like,
So
take all that away, and it's just,
But what's so if you take the heroin away, if you take your pathway away, which has been your addictive tendency to function in order not to actually feel how you feel, deep down, what is it that you feel?
I mean, it's unsafe. It's really scary.
Unsafe because?
Well, like the acute unsafety now is this giant question mark of like what, like at some level it's what can I replace it with?
Yeah, because you're trying to find different heroin.
Right, which is, very clear that it's
No,
there is a scramble of like,
that's not acute.
What else?
That is you refusing to face your shadow.
I'm saying that's one of the default places that my mind goes is what else would work instead of that?
Yeah.
And probably good. I haven't come up with anything.
No, but that shows you that this is what refusal to integrate is.
Right. No, that is clear.
If you're still refusing to go into the deep down, I feel utterly unsafe because deep down I think I'm bad and I'm unlovable. And that's the truth. But I'm refusing to sit there and allow that to always be flowing. I'm over here on the surface, still trying to find a different solution.
No, right. No, I mean, it is both. It is, to begin with, it was a lot of what's plan B? Eventually it's okay, well, just feel it.
But feel which part?
I mean, I felt it at every level along that chain.
Which level?
At the, I don't know what sex is. I don't know what love is. I don't feel loved. I don't feel worthy. I every level has its own.
Yeah, but
and fundamentally underneath all that is just I'm just unsafe.
Yeah, but feeling it, all of those things, I don't feel loved. I don't feel like I'm getting enough sex. I don't feel like I am worthy. All of those things are just the toolkits to not feel and numb off. So deep down at the bottom is what?
Is I don't feel lovable, good enough, some sort of blend of all that.
Yeah, but that's integration. Is allowing for that presence to be your truth.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, but I want to say there's no, so, I have brought this up before. The way into acceptance and integration is not to provide yourself with a different heroin addiction.
Right.
And it is not to go, oh yeah, look, I acknowledge that I as a child feels unworthy at the core and unlovable. And then I'll just go, okay, yeah, that's what that's hitting. The integration is allowing that to be your truth. And there's no solution to that other than allowing that vibrational frequency to always be present so you can feel how much suppression you have issued into that truth for the last 45 years.
Yeah.
So for the last 45 years, basically what I want to say is that has been festering like basically a clusterfuck of a hurricane that's been spinning and creating all this energy because you've been trying to shut it off, right? If you have a huge storm if you have a little storm that's brewing to begin with, right? When you're a child and you're like, oh, I'm unworthy and I'm unlovable. And that's the containment of the storm. If you don't acknowledge it, like, oh, look, this is just a feeling of me feeling unlovable. And like something happens in the world and that gets triggered and you're like, oh, look, it's hitting that unlovable filter. It would just flow. And then you will just recognize these triggers in the world that cause you to feel unsafe through the lens of unlovable. But if you don't acknowledge it, which is what we have done through positive psychosis, and we come up with all the ways to numb it off, to excuse it from even being there, or, basically to not see this as the shadow, right? To not even acknowledge that this is something that we actually feel deep down, it becomes a huge storm. And that storm has huge energy potential. And depending on how old you are, like in your case, in your 40s, if you allow the storm to brew, it is an overwhelming amount of energy that you have trapped for the last 45 years.
Right. And like I've told you over the last few days, it's like this, it is like a low level constant panic attack.
Yeah. Good.
Like just that I've been in for like, I don't know, 48, 72 hours now. And it's, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it's, in a sense, it has maybe gotten a little bit better. It's not that it's gotten less intense, but it's just that, but like, I find that, to begin with, I would try to logic it out or come up with a plan B or whatever. And that, that's where I started. And, I got to do this so I can distract myself with, whatever.
Well, no, to begin with, you wanted to have an argument with me why the path that we have identified that you were holding onto as your heroine path of like arousal, intimacy, sex, I'm loved, therefore I'm worthy. To begin with, you wanted to argue that was a valid path and that you should have, you were valid to have that as a propagational system, and that is just how the world works. So to begin with, it's even like complete denial that what I have come to take on as a belief.
Scramble to defend my mental
addiction.
gymnastics. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so the refusal of the system to basically take away its addictive tendency in order not to feel unlovable and unworthy in the long run will be huge if you have spent 45 years using that system.
Yeah.
And you will see me as an attacker and as the bad guy. I'm literally your drug dealer and I'm taking your drugs away.
Right. And it's not, there's other ways into feeling lovable and worthy, whether that's, doing a good job or whatever, looking impressive, whatever it is. There's all these other things, which, I've kind of piecemeal identified over the years and stuff, but those were never as good as, what I would have called real love. Now I'm going to take that definition back. But yeah, it's better in that I'm more used to it now, right? I've become more acquainted with this chronic terror. So I'm not, trying to escape out of it as much as I was right at the beginning. At the beginning, it took very concentrated effort to stay in it. And it takes less effort to stay in it now. Which, I guess, in as much as now I'm in it more of the time because I'm trying to stay out of it less of the time.
Yeah. And the goal is to accept yourself.
Right. And
in that energy.
Right. And
it's not to make it go away.
I don't even know if I've accepted it yet. It's just, I'm just still feeling it.
Yeah, but feeling is accepting.
Maybe.
Accepting the feeling.
I mean, okay. maybe.
I mean, what it comes down to, I know you don't want to admit it, but your body and your entire nervous system has been wired in to feel that as truth.
Right.
So you cannot, this is what I'm saying, acknowledging that the child feels unsafe and go, okay, well, the second you acknowledge, now you can move away and move on with your life, because shadow work integrated, check. I want to say that's not how the system works.
Right. The truth of the matter is that this low level panic attack I'm having has always been there. And I've just been, band-aiding over it my entire life. It's like, there's this huge crack in the foundation, but if we put some carpet over it, then we can pretend it's not there. But there's still a giant crack there. It's nice and pretty, and we can decorate it, but it doesn't fix it. And it's like, it is obvious to me now that how much it has always been there, and it has always, had a stranglehold on a large swaths of me and my life and my behavior and my thoughts and my emotions. And I was just good at suppressing or numbing that. It's always been there. It's just really obvious right now. It's just, it's always been there, but now it's right there.
Yeah, but the shadow is you refusing to acknowledge that it has always been right here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always been there, right next to me, but behind me, and we don't look back there. Now it's, I don't know if it's here or if I've turned around, which way the metaphor goes.
Yeah. Yeah. The fear I think that most people run into is that much vulnerability, to just acknowledge how vulnerable you have been your entire life, feeling that unloved and that unworthy, has always been there. But because that makes you feel even more unsafe, because that's vulnerable, it will keep you from going into that direction. Like most of the conversations that people are refusing to have, that will actually have productive outcomes of them uncovering their shadow and actually start working their way towards peace, are being prevented because in the long run, that conversation makes you feel the most vulnerable, like more vulnerable than anyone can ever imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And you
exactly
think
it.
that you saying that out loud, like, oh, I am just unlovable. Like that's it. That's my truth. Saying that out loud, and not just saying that, but like telling the world that deep down, I think I'm a piece of shit and I'm unlovable, it will somehow make it worse than the fact that you have already been feeling that,
Right.
and been hiding that from yourself.
You already fundamentally believe it. It's already your own truth. It's just, there's this idea that, well, if I keep it in, then that's less bad than if I let it out and verbalize it. God forbid let anybody else know, because then if they know that I think that, then that reaffirms that.
Yeah.
In my particular example, right?
Reaffirms that you're unlovable.
Right. Because it's like, if I tell you, hey, I fundamentally feel, like I'm just not good enough, and not that nobody loves me, but I fundamentally can't be loved. If I tell you that, that is more evidence to you that there's something wrong with me. Therefore, obviously, you would love me less because now you have learned something bad about me. And right.
But something bad is because you have defined this as your secret to be hiding.
Sure. But that doesn't change it. It's putting it out in the world re-strengthens it. Which,
well, no.
I'm afraid that putting it out in the world would re-strengthen it. Therefore, I certainly don't want to put it out in the world.
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, putting it out in the world actually, lets it chips away the cover over it. So a little bit of light can now get in, and, now we can have a conversation and now it can actually be explored for, the first time. And it isn't even the first time. It's like, it's no secret to me that I've always felt this way.
Well, no, I mean, I think what's happened is we have known that deep down you feel unlovable and unworthy. But the slew of toolkits you have in order to avoid that feeling and actually acknowledging that and like actually letting your body vibrate that frequency, because that's what you have to do, right? You have to allow your body to open into that truth and let it vibrate. And it feels extremely unsafe because it's super vulnerable. Your entire energy field is opened to you being a broken, utterly unlovable child. We have identified that already, but it's just the only thing that changed now is just we found a very well-used toolkit that you use to numb yourself off of it.
Yeah.
By pretending that toolkit is actually somehow a solution.
Right.
A proof against you being unlovable.
Right.
But when you look at it, it's just a toolkit of lies.
Yeah. But I mean, in doing so, which, makes it, I'm going to use the word worse to me, is that it also, while shining all this light on the root of my unsafety, also kind of blew up definitions of like love and intimacy to me too. And so it's like, which, if you're going to do it, just go all in and do it all at the same time, I guess. But
no, the only reason that the love and intimacy definitions existed in that through that lens is because you develop them as positive psychosis.
I understand, but through this, that has fallen apart, and now it's now there's this like the in as much as there's the main quest of feel my unlovableness, there's the side quest of, and at some point I would like to figure out what love and intimacy actually are.
I don't think that should be a side quest.
It should be not a quest.
It should be not a pacifier.
No, I don't mean as a pacifier. I just mean like in general. I don't know what it means, and that's scary in and of itself.
Yeah, but in truth, is how can you know what something means if you're spending a lot of times not even knowing yourself?
No, I understand that.
Like by default, if you spend your entire life trying to not know yourself, including that deep down, I just feel unlovable at the core, like from my birth, right? From the childhood years, the first thing that I decided is I'm unlovable and I'm unworthy. If you cannot get past that definition and then know yourself through that lens or through that trauma or through that choice, you can't, nothing can come into your life and be truthful until you allow that to be your truth.
Right.
So like I hope someday to know it. Yeah, you will know it when you accept yourself for who you are, as opposed to take on a different version of fucked upness.
Right. No, the goal is not to take on a different version of fucked upness.
People come into Earth, and they take on a definition of how I'm going to feel unsafe. And in your case, I'm unworthy. And every single word and every single expression and every single definition is solely developed from that standpoint. And this is not to scare you more, but you don't know anything at all. And the identity crisis is actually bigger than you even think it is, because everything needs to be unraveled until you integrate that portion.
As you say that, I think what I am doing is, I want to know what love is, what intimacy is, ... so that I now, because that would somehow be evidence that I'm not unworthy.
Well, of course. I mean, you're just denying yourself healing.
Right.
You're denying yourself the vulnerable panic that you're attempting to have your body actually experience as integration of your shadow.
There's more clever ways around feeling it to the full extent that I'm doing.
No, the truth is, any desire right now that you have, any desire, whether it be sexual, whether it be intimacy, whether it be love related, will be solely there for you not to feel the panic. Because deep down, they will still hit just the right, stimuli in order to fill the panic of you trying to integrate your shadow. Any desire to know the world right now would be there as a filler. Any desire in fact, any desire into any action right now would be there as a filler in order not to feel the panic. So that's what I would say, like, really hone in on yourself and commitment to actually feeling like I say that, realizing that if that is your goal, right? If your goal is to actually know thyself and experience peace and experience integration, so then you can actually start from scratch and start building like your truth as opposed to living through the lies, then commit to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as you feel the panic, the psyche goes, oh, but there must be a version of love that is real, that I can feel, so therefore I feel lovable. Oh, there must be a version of intimacy that is real, so then I can feel lovable. There must be a version of arousal that is real, so then I can feel lovable. Like all three of those things, your psyche is like, there must be, because the world has 8 billion people in it. So surely there are some other versions that I have yet to know that are out there that are kosher, so then therefore I can cling on to that.
Right. And it isn't, I mean, yes, there's nuance in there. It isn't to try to rebuild that chain.
Well, but
it is to, well, if I can understand these things, then that makes me a better person. It isn't even to use those to solve the unlovableness anymore. It isn't. It's that knowing those, figuring that out, in and of itself would be evidence that I am somehow better.
Because not knowing is
not knowing is really bad, especially not knowing these things is like extra bad somehow.
Because
extra
you
bad
have used them.
Yeah, because I've had very skewed ideas of them. And
does it suck ass more that I've been telling you for the last 20 years? You have an unhealthy relationship with everything that is related to sex. Yeah, but like the fact that the 20 years of my statements have knowing you going, your initial inception into what sex is and what intimacy is and what love is has come from the wrong space.
Yeah.
And anytime I said that, how did you feel?
Attacked.
Yeah. But like now that you've gotten yourself to the point where you see it as opposed to me telling you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how could I have seen it's, I don't know. You have to see it yourself. It just doesn't work if you don't see it yourself.
Yeah, it's just, but
it's this weird hypothetical, theoretical thing that has no basis in reality until you see it yourself. And then you're like, oh shit, that's right there, isn't it? That's how it is. At some point there's like this very quick snap from, this is nonsense. This does not apply to me at all, to it being flipped. Oh shit, this is reality. And there's no amount of mental gymnastics I can do to get back there.
Which you wanted to. When you wanted to fight with me on Tuesday, you wanted to.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah. So on Tuesday, not only was I right for the last 20 years, then your personal psyche went, oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
And then you had to sell me in order to pretend like you don't see it.
Sure. Yeah, it's, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube at that point. It's like, it's you've seen the Matrix. And it's like, oh shit. And so it is this like low, I know that, sure, there are things I could do or ways I could think that would probably feel better in that it would numb it out. I know that, but it all seems pointless and futile now. It's like, to what end?
To continue to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
That's why somebody would choose that.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, that would be the core of why you would choose to not see it or not continue to explore.
Yeah,
it.
but once you see it, it becomes there's no point in keeping that up. It's now you see the crack, and it's like, well, I guess I could put more carpet down, but that there's still a giant crack that's just, I don't know, letting water in or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, but like the crack has been, the carpet has been like a pacifier, but the crack has been getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, right.
So the size of the crack has grown so exponentially that the energetic twirl that is happening in order for you to stay in the present moment of the feeling that this crack has taken its meaning is more and more the more time you spend with it. So part of the recognition of like, yeah, I don't want to put another layer of carpet on top because it, at some point the whole house collapses. It should also be kind of like a recognition that it's only growing. Like, not acknowledging it does not allow it to stay the same.
Yeah.
It's just you feed it energy in the non-acknowledgement, the fact that you feel total chaos and panic and unsafety as the child screaming. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And, extrapolate, like, right? It's like with heroin, it is obvious that, okay, well, sooner or later, having enough heroin, I don't know, you probably have a heart attack and die or OD. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can see a progression out to where, like, oh, physical interpretation of overdosing on drugs in order to numb off this huge crack. You could see how that ends.
Yeah.
But in your case, it would end, it will still have a physical expression of avoidance.
Yeah.
Just, it will be a health related thing because it won't be obvious because you're technically not taking on heroin and dosing and having a heart attack. You are numbing with these inadequate processes of addiction through sex and intimacy and arousal, right? To still fill the hole that is continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And no amount of sex and no amount of intimacy and no amount of arousal will ever make you feel loved enough because in the long run, they never even go to the right place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you see the process, I think you see the self-destructive nature of its propagation.
It pulls the curtain back and you realize that, A never really fed to B and B never really fed to C and C never, and the whole chain has fallen apart. And, you're left with that, shit, I feel unsafe. I feel unsafe because I fundamentally think I'm not worthy and I'm not lovable. And okay, that is me.
Yeah. But I want to say that, like what I've been experiencing is like, it's easier to say like, oh yeah, that's what acceptance is just me. And you can allow that to flow, right? but it feels like a complete system overload. The nervous system is constantly heightened, and you feel like spinning out at all times. It is kind of like panic attack. I have had a panic attack during COVID, so to me it doesn't feel panic attack.
I mean,
it feels like a system overwhelm. Like I can trace this feeling back to when I was a child, and I was experiencing immense amount of unsafety, and now we're just kind of like there's this like energetic impulse, and I just feel unsafe. I don't know, for some reason I want to say there's an influx of positive ions around me. And it almost feels like, the thunderstorm energy of like charge, that electric charge. I just feel my entire system like it's almost like I feel so vulnerable that the defense mechanism that I have is this increase in electric charge. And I constantly have to mellow it out and accept it into like the negative ions. That's the positive, like the opposite thereof. Like, so it's like panic, if you use panic attack, but like nervous system increase to where I feel like a huge charge that I feel like I'm shorting out. And then I have to start breathing and basically acknowledging, complete system overrun. And I'm soothing myself into the acceptance that this is how I feel. Not trying to not feel that way, but allowing my nervous system to come within the acceptance that this is how I feel. It's very different.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's
you're
in as much as both are soothing, but this is accepting soothing instead of numbing soothing.
It's not, I don't feel this, is I feel this, right? But now you're approaching recognition of this influx of the nervous system, which is what that feeling of unsafety is. You're approaching it to go, yes, you do feel unsafe, and I accept you in this moment. And that gesture of acceptance is what allows you to start balancing this hurricane of shitstorm that has been always brewing and always functioning and always, right? Because what a hurricane is just an influx of one ionic charge and not offset by the other. And when it passes, when it passes over land, right? The charge of land is different. And then the hurricane simply has an offering of a different charge that you give it that balances the system out, right? You're not killing the hurricane and you're not changing anything other than you give it an energy to accept it. And then the balancing is the natural process thereof.
Right. It's the fighting of it all. Or fighting, I mean, numbing is a form of fighting, avoiding, ignoring. That's what gives it, that's what lets it grow.
Fester, yeah.
Sure, fester. Yeah.
It comes, right? It comes as this nervous system overwhelm, right? Like I can go back to my childhood and I can feel the initiation of that. Like it's a nervous system overwhelm. And then to a child, you don't know what's happening. Like you don't know, oh shit, I feel unsafe and vulnerable in this moment. But because as a child, no one spends time talking therapy with you or even saying, hey, what is it that you're acting out right now? Like, how is it that you actually feel, right? Like, again, going back to our upbringing, my upbringing, I was never taught to go, wait, when you feel like this overwhelm, what is it you actually feel? And then you're allowed to explore the feelings and you go, oh, and you could go down, oh, I just feel unsafe. Like me receiving a bad grade at school makes me feel unsafe because somehow having good grade is important. And then if I don't, I am somehow bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine right there.
Yeah, no, but when that moment came where you got a bad grade and all of a sudden you felt unsafe and you had the nervous system overrun, if in that moment somebody, an adult would have sat down with you, or a therapist or a teacher or a counselor would have sat down with you saying, hey, what is it that you feel? Because obviously there's nobody, if they saw your nervous system influx, they would have said, oh, how is it that you feel? And you're like, oh, well, it feels really threatening to get a bad grade. I feel like I'm bad. And then, the right person, no, this is all obviously like makeup magic land because nobody will ever do this. But the right way to do this would have been like, oh, but if you feel bad, then what does that mean? Like, oh, well, then my mom and dad won't love me because I get bad grades. Well, your mom and dad not loving me because you get bad grades, what does that mean? Oh, well, it means they don't take care of me because now I'm bad. Right. And in my case, I will go back to the orphanage and the table leg and like, oh, and what does that do? Like, oh, then I'm utterly unsafe. I'm unsafe because like no one's even bothering to take care of me because, well, why bother if she's bad? Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But mine goes back to the table leg, right? And that being bad and therefore unsafe or being whatever, right? There, and then therefore you can't trust other people to take care of you because why would they take care of you if you're not worthy or if you're just bad, and if getting bad grades in math is evidence of that, right? So if we were allowed to cognitively travel through that very unlogical process of thinking, but at the time that is our process of thinking, that is what we're actually thinking, then it would have like allowed that influx, that energetic trapping that is causing me to feel bad, to be released and go, okay, in the long run, this actually has nothing to do with me getting a bad grade in math. And this is just an example that this particular lesson, I can study a little bit more and just for the sake only for this lesson to like maybe, do better at fractions or whatever.
Right. I mean, it disconnects
and it wouldn't be deposited as another evidence to the unsafety.
Right. Because there's the acute issue of, your grade or whatever it is, which is its own thing that maybe or maybe not has to be dealt with, or maybe you study, or maybe you need to redo your homework, whatever it is, right? There's that. That's the thing in the real world. And then there's this root trauma issue down here that it is poking. And yeah, if you don't go, wait a minute, oh, I see, this causes me to feel unsafe, then it just piles up as more and more
It becomes
evidence.
A pathway.
Yeah.
It becomes a very easy pathway,
yeah.
right? When people talk about pathway developments, it's just a pathway that anytime X happens, it feeds into this unsafety. And that's how a shitstorm forms. Is at no point there's evidence that you're just feeding that pathway. Everything that comes in is just being fed into this pathway of unsafety, or maybe in bad, or
reinforcing that,
reinforcing that you cannot trust people because if you're bad, guess what? You're already bad. You can't trust people to take care of you, and it's unsafe. Everything just but that's why. Maybe that's why I get a little bit, through the trauma of knowing that is what happened to me. And really, that is what has happened to everyone. Like quite literally everyone on earth right now is facing that. I think if we bring awareness to that is how neurological system imbalances work. And then our system just basically gets heightened and then we get scared. And if no one talks to us about why we're scared or what is actually hitting and allows us not to build that neural pathway and go, okay, well, you getting a bad grade actually has nothing to do with me not loving you, and it has nothing to do with you being bad, and it has nothing to do with, therefore, unsafety, right?
Right.
Like this is just an example of what you're experiencing in the world. And in this case, getting a bad grade is just simply that.
Right.
Just this is an indication of how well you know this material, period.
Right.
Nothing flows out of there other than that.
Yeah, break that chain when it first starts.
Yeah, but we don't.
We don't.
And so everything, quite literally everything in our life just feeds and feeds and feeds that chain.
No, I mean, I'm having a swarm of like young examples of this type of stuff come up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. That's it.
Reinforcement.
It reinforced that chain. And it's this, right. This, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's how a huge shitstorm forms, right? That's how a huge crack basically tumbles the whole house down, right? Because you're just feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, and it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. The neural pathway continues not to be acknowledged or cut off, and so the what you think is a solution to not feel that is actually propagating the crack to get bigger. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your neural pathway of what love is and what intimacy is and what sex is actually feeding the crack.
Yeah.
To stay bigger.
Sure.
And so once you're ready to see that, once you're ready to integrate your shadow and you see, oh, wow, the thing that I have been using as a solution is actually the problem. And then, the futile nature of going back to that is that. Like, oh, shit, it's not that it's futile. It's that, oh, no, it's the opposite of a solution.
Right. No, that's the thing is that it not only wouldn't work anymore, it would like do the opposite.
But you see it for the first time now.
Yeah, right.
Right. And yeah, of course, there's the panic to where like, fuck, then now I don't even know how to behave because that's the only way I have known how to behave.
Yeah.
And it turns out I've been slowly killing myself in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doing the opposite, right? Because the goal of the human system is, the truth is the goal of the human system is not to feel loved or not to feel not bad or not to feel worthy, just to be at peace.
Right.
But the only way we go and get to that, right? If you remove the panic of the unsafety, the only way you get to peace is you feel safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, that's what everybody wants, is just to feel safe and peace.
No, but they don't know safe.
They don't know that peace comes through safety. Maybe.
Well, they don't even know they feel unsafe, right? Like what You and I podcast is about is the recognizing that everything leads to all of these expressions that are keeping us safe are actually there as deteriorating versions of us to not to feel unsafe, not to acknowledge that we are actually feel unsafe.
Yeah.
The entire life is actually chugging itself into the opposite direction of peace.
Right. Digging that trench deeper.
Yeah. You dig in the trench that is actually detrimental to your survival because you're trying not to feel unsafe, as opposed to there's this whole other universe where there's just peace.
Right.
But what you think you're seeking is, like when most people, when they go seeking, and they're like, oh, deep down, they just want to be that calm and at peace. But nobody will acknowledge because deep down, I'm raging in the feeling of unsafety.
Right. And they think, well, clearly I need to do the opposite of that. I need to feel the opposite of that in order to feel at peace, right? I feel unsafe, so I need to do whatever I can to feel safe so that I can finally feel peace.
Yeah.
That is the default way that everybody, myself included, operates.
That is,
and it's not,
that is Earth.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about what we're actually doing.
It almost isn't obvious that that's the wrong thing to do. Or maybe better word, that is an ineffective way to achieve peace.
Well, it's actually the opposite of achieving peace.
Right.
It's causing more unsafety and more chaos.
Yeah.
It's deteriorating the foundation of your house. And then sooner or later you're crumbling down because everything you have done has been to mitigate unsafety as opposed to acknowledge the unsafety and start healing it.
Yeah.
Like those are two different worlds. Right. Those are two completely different approaches to life.
Right.
And we have never been taught to acknowledge our truth.
Yeah. I mean,
the shadow is not wanting to acknowledge our truth.
Right. And if you can disconnect that chain of like doing activity X helps me feel safer or helps me feel less unsafe or numbs out the unsafe feeling, and you can blow up every link along that chain, that helps in that, A, you get some awareness about that chain, B, you get some awareness about the unsafety, C, it doesn't work anymore. D, maybe you get to find these other ways that fed it. That's a helpful tool. But you have to really feel it, just understanding it it's still like, yeah, but that's, there's a whole bunch of yeah buts to logic it out or
Yeah,
whatever.
but the yeah, but is probably the best indicator that you're still trying to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
When you try the yeah, but argument to another person is you just trying to continue to sell yourself.
There's so many, like, I went through, maybe a day's worth of yeah buts to myself. And I'm like, look at all these. Yeah, but
I have a valid point. Look why this is valid. Look why this is valid.
Much. Yeah, it's so much. And it's this logical ego mind trying to rationalize this behavior, which has felt safe over the years to maintain the status quo because it can sense the bridge is falling down. It can sense that, all this is starting to crumble. But if I can convince myself that it still works because of any sort of, rational, yeah, but, everybody does. Yeah, but, this is normal. Yeah, but, socially accept whatever it is. Then maybe I don't have to blow all that up. And I'm not, and rebuilding it doesn't even make sense. It's just blown up. And now there's this, there's no longer a bridge across the canyon. And
you're drowning.
And you fell at the same time.
Yeah, and you're drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to have a feeling of drowning, hence us never acknowledging that we actually feel like we're drowning.
Yeah.
And to get yourself to the point where you're willing to acknowledge that you're drowning and not participate in the personal nonsensical bullshit that caused you to drown to begin with, is difficult. And then you have to sit there and be okay with drowning. Because you have denied yourself that feeling. So you have to sit there allowing yourself to continue to feel that. So like, this is, I keep on repeating this. But like, I talk to people about earth ascending or people healing or actually getting to the peace that we want to feel inside. And then there's not like a master's level class that you need to take to do that. You just have to be willing to go through the process that we just talked about. And it's so painful. And it destroys so many false stories and false narratives. And it makes you feel so vulnerable in the process because deep down you already feel vulnerable. It makes you realize how vulnerable you feel right now, but more importantly, how vulnerable you have always felt. That we have been terrified of that feeling for so long that the commitment for us to do that or willing to be there or willing to commit to that, free fall, to put it very nonchalantly, is just light, impossible, right? You have to want to be at peace and then see yourself for what you are, which is your own enemy.
Yeah, right. Like you're the one who's erected this bridge of nonsense to pacify yourself.
Oh, because you were trying to keep yourself safe, but what you thought kept you safe. Actually,
it was well intentioned. It was like, oh well, this, I feel unsafe, and somehow at some point in your early life, you realize that, oh well, this makes me feel safe, and well, this makes me feel that, which makes me feel safe, and you build this chain of whatever. And now if I get good grades, then mom and dad love me, and if mom and dad love me, then I must be worthy of being loved, and if I'm worthy of being loved, then I'm safe. So I'm going to try really hard at school. And if I get a bad grade, that is like end of the world level stuff, because then mom and dad won't love me, and then it proves that turns out I'm not lovable after all. Yeah, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, right. But the school grades are easy, right? But everything in life is that.
Everything.
I would go back and I would say nothing in our life has been anything other than that. There has not been any real propagation of truth as long as we do not acknowledge that we are functioning out of unsafety. When you acknowledge, or look, I feel unsafe, and the action that I'm getting ready to take right now is to mitigate this unsafety feeling, that is the only true action. Or that is the only truth.
Mm-hmm.
You can still choose to take that action. I mean, you wouldn't, but you could choose to take the action in the acknowledgement that this is going to pacify the feeling of unsafety.
Well, like, you can still study for the test and try to get a good grade for the sake of the grade, but disconnected from so that I don't feel unsafe.
No, that ideally that's where the system will go.
Right.
Right. But to begin with,
I mean, there's no, I mean, I guess there are actions that are maybe heroin is just the wrong thing to do, but like to disconnect the action or the repercussions from the action or the result of the action from the unsafety.
To see the two, to aware of the
to realize that these are two completely disconnected things,
but
that you have connected, but that connection is false.
But there will be, right, in the past, there has been times where you were behaving out of that unsafety and realize that this action comes out of that unsafety, and you still continued with that action.
Sure, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now
sooner or later, at least that is, it's more honest and deliberate.
That's what I'm saying. There's just straight amount of honesty that if you still are choosing to behave a certain way, and you realize this is trying to mitigate your unsafety, you have to see that.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you will choose not to take that action.
Yeah.
But to begin with, always acknowledge I'm behaving out of feeling of unsafety.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you stop behaving out of feeling of unsafety. But as you're open and raw, you are behaving out of unsafety.
Yeah.
And so then each action can be evaluated through that lens. Am I doing this because I want to get a good grade? And that's just, or am I trying to mitigate unsafety?
Right.
Am I reacting to it because this is really a big deal, or this makes me feel unsafe?
Right. I mean, at some really meta level, like trying to feel unsafe is safe, because it's like you know that that's the way through, or the right, which makes it weird and complicated. There's safety in doing the work that is unsafe.
So it's safety in doing the work that is unsafe.
Right. In as much as like, oh, I want to avoid this feeling of unlovable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's unsafe.
Yeah.
But at some level, I know that it's unsafe to avoid it. So I will go experience the unsafety because that feels safe, maybe it's a different, dimension of safe, but I mean, I'm aware of that for myself. The safe thing to do is to go sit down and meditate and feel unsafe. There's some safety in that.
Because then you're doing something forward?
Maybe there's control in that. That isn't to say that is right or wrong thing to do.
Yeah, but in the beginning you said that you want to continue to feel unloved, right? Because there's safety there.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because you're familiar with that world.
I mean, it's familiar, right? It's known.
So in the long run, do you actually want to feel loved if everything you have known as being unloved and unworthy? Do you want to feel worthy because you don't even know how it would be? So if you're still in that fear and still on safety, then even going out of your existing pattern, you want to stay a victim because that's familiar. And you know the pathways you could take to soothe it, but remain unsafe. Do you know what I mean? Like the pathway from arousal to intimacy to sex to being loved is a pathway that you know that works, that makes you feel loved, and put blindfolds and earmuffs on the idea that this actually is still unsafety. But you're so familiar with the way that the drug of that pathway worked, is become comfortable. The neural pathway that calmed the system down has been comfortable. So you wouldn't want to give up and all of a sudden start feeling loved, because then what? The ego has nowhere to go. You don't even exist. Like, right? There's all the definitions,
right.
all
No,
the versions of self
that's
are
back
gone.
to the identity crisis or ego death that I'd said that it feels like too, right?
Yeah,
Because it is all of that,
right? But just realize that there are multiple reasons of why your psyche would want to continue to make sure that you are proven that you are unlovable. In a way, you want to continue to stay unlovable and unworthy. You want to play the victim.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've gone through oodles of buts that include a victim mindset.
Or desire to stay a victim.
Hmm?
Desire to stay unlovable and unworthy.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's what, whenever I have these conversations and I evaluate of like, okay, yeah, this is quite literally the path to peace, to like open heart living, to love. Like, what is the outcome when this happens? It makes me feel slightly pessimistic, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know the amount of like oomph and commitment I have to work through my own, to like get past my own self. And I don't know anybody else who has this much commitment.
Yeah.
Because right, like to push through the pain, to push through this personal bullshit, to push through like, oh look, I'm doing it again, right? Do you know what I mean? And it could be that I'm bringing in the pain body of not trusting people to have this within them. Could be that. But in the long run, every single time I have these conversations with people and I try to go down this path and like starts to poke at this, I see them bulkhead me so much and run away, either run away or like go, but right, you do that too. And that makes me pessimistic, because it's like that I have yet to come across people who go without the but.
But I mean, to you, I think there's safety in your like,
at some point I think I had safety in the tenacity to make things happen, because that's the same energy that I would have used to stay blind, right?
You just refocused it.
But now I realize it's actually a tool that the tool that I use to stay blind and to stay in control so I don't feel unsafe is the same toolkit that I use now in order to commit to self when I want to run away from myself. When I want to make somebody else the bad guy, that would be the toolkit that I would use to go, yeah, Tanya, we've done, do you know, like the commitment to making shit happen that I would have used in the past to continue to feel safe or to pretend to feel safe. Now is the commitment that I use to go, oh yeah, look what the tendency here is. I don't know if it correlates or not, but that's what I'm noticing. Is it's like the tenacity to make something happen that was in the past out of blindness. Now is the tenacity to like, yeah, you just don't want to stay here. Do you know what I mean? Like, like look, my psyche goes like, it's almost like I'm having conversation with myself. Like, look what you're doing, trying to run away from this situation.
Yeah.
But that's just my approach to life. But like, obviously other people don't have this approach. But the pessimistic version of me goes when I bring this up and I poke it. Oh, the bulking that people have.
Yeah, right.
to
but that's the thing
to
is that
discount it.
it has to be. They have to hear it or experience it in such a way that they get it. That whatever their personal flavor is, and I think this is unique and specific to everybody. Like we've had that conversation
many times,
many times over 2 decades, and I don't even know that it was even said in a different way. It's just at some point you get it, you see it differently, and you're like, oh shit, everything I thought I knew was wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
But then you have to go and let's run with that instead of, yeah, but what I thought I knew, maybe it's wrong, but it works, and let's just keep trying that. Yeah, that's part 2. Part 1 is you have to break everything, and then part 2 is you have to not rebuild it.
Yeah, like in 2017 when I had this happen to me, right? And I had my slap in the face, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know who I am. There was this huge scramble and trying to find me in somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And right,
yeah,
and like
I remember.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wait, okay, so I channel and I let me, I don't even know. Like I was trying to find an identity after realizing that I don't have an identity, or even the identity that I thought I had, I didn't want. And it took a long, it was a long time for me to recognize, like, oh, I'm just self-soothing because I'm out there trying to find my identity or trying to find myself. It took me a long time to figure that out. Kind of sad. There was a path where, like, because we are never taught that going away from identity is not finding a different identity. Because that's just like replacing heroin with crack cocaine. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if they're equivalent, but do you know what I mean? Like, that's just like, oh, okay, look, I figured out that this path is kind of like I'm a drug addict here. Okay, I'm not gonna do that, but let me go start running instead. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you think it's different, but you're just trying to replace one false with a different false.
Yeah, right.
And the right, obviously, again, just reinforcing it, the right thing to do would just be accept yourself at the core of why you feel unsafe. And start seeing all of your actions through that lens. Like, oh, look, I'm doing this because this is how it makes me feel safe. I'm doing this. This is how it makes me feel safe. And I'm doing this because this is how it makes me feel safe. And in acceptance and seeing that neural pathway that you were reinforcing and now possibly behaving out of, you will actually see the neural pathways.
Yeah, right. And at least you can stop doing those.
Well, then you have an actual choice.
Yeah, you have a choice.
You have a choice.
Or you can do it, or you can do it, but if you're doing it, do it deliberately.
But no, yeah, the truth of self is not to behave in a certain way, but it's behave with awareness of truth.
Yeah.
If you choose to still be an asshole and go murdering and raping people, at least do it out of awareness. I would wager to say is people will stop raping and murdering the second they actually see why they're doing that. But you could choose to continue, right? You know what I mean? But like once you see your self-deceit, like you saw that pathway, you're like, oh,
yeah.
Like there's like, wow, this is the opposite of what I would have chosen have I known this 40 years ago.
Right. It's the, oh shit, I forget which one it is. Is it the red pill in the Matrix? It's like, you just, there's no going back. It's.
Wait, but and I don't know if Matrix, communicated this. It is actually harmful. You harming yourself.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that this is harmful to like consciousness, like cumulative consciousness and propagation of energy, you're actually harming yourself.
Yeah.
Like you realize you have been harming yourself.
Yeah, you think you're actually helping yourself, but you're not. You're doing a bona fide disservice to yourself the entire time without even realizing. You're taking this you're digging this neural pathway of falsehoods, and you're just digging it deeper and deeper every time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're throwing more fuel on that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.